and welcome to episode 16 of Review to a Kill. My name's James and I'm a big James Bond fan.
My name's Tom. I love movies, but I've criminally not watched these ones, have I?
Neglected them.
I'm getting through them. I've watched 16 now.
That's right. Well, every episode we will be analysing a film from the series and we'll be comparing our scores. Tom was a first-time watcher and me, someone who's seeing it for the millionth time. We'll be comparing and contrasting and seeing what we like and what we don't like. Now, as we say at the beginning of every episode, there will be
Spoilers!
Spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie that we're going to be talking about tonight, switch us off here, go watch the movie, and then come back. Otherwise, we will just destroy it for you. So, we always want to hear from you. Please do leave us a comment below this video, below here. Or you can tweet us on @ReviewKillShow. X Twitter X thing.
While we're still there, before it's like,
before it becomes
before everyone has left.
A waste ground.
Nice. Yeah.
But we're also on Blue Sky,
Yeah.
Which is @Review to a Kill, because we managed to get in there first before anyone else did. Nice.
Yeah.
So we are @Review to a Kill if you'd like to send us a message. Right, glasses on, because it's time for, before we get to this episode, we're going to move back and get the feedback on our previous episode, which of course was The Living Daylights. It's time for your feedback, your points of view. Feedback Corner.
Oh, that was a bit.
That was nice.
Like enchanting.
It was.
Yeah.
It was a dark edge to that.
Yeah,
I liked it. Yeah. Shall we see what people have been
that's where
saying?
we're going tonight with darker edge. But
Shall we see what people have been saying in
Let's do
Feedback Corner? Right, first up tonight is Loft Legacy. I think this is a new person. Don't think we've had a correspondence from them before. Hello to you, sir or madam, and thank you for contacting us. Loft Legacy says, the girl who Bond dropped in to give the good news to,
Oh yeah.
on the boat, was on the phone to Margot.
Yeah.
Allegedly, the Eon in-joke was Margot was Princess Margaret on the other end of the line, enjoying life in one of her gin palaces.
Well,
I didn't know that. So thank you very much to Loft Legacy for that. Howard Sinclair would like to take issue with you. You know Howard is a very intelligent man and he knows his music.
he wasn't happy with it.
He wasn't happy when you talked about the annoying bit of cello, which he's pointed out is Dvorak's Cello Concerto in B minor. And it's his favourite cello concerto. You have to hear it with the full orchestra.
Yes.
So there you go. There's our homework.
He knows I'm only messing. I replied because I like a bit of mad jazz and stuff, so I'm one to talk about annoying sounds. I thought it was more just he's got home for a hard day's secret agent in.
Yes.
Gets home to.
Is that what you want late at night when you've been spying around North Africa?
Exactly.
You come home to that,
Yeah, but I bet it is.
I've no doubt it's magnificent.
Yeah.
Howard says that cello was his first instrument, hence his geeky knowledge on the subject. So we can empathise, Howard, because we have geeky knowledge on all sorts of ridiculous subjects. So anyway, thank you for your correspondence. Enlightenment 789. Daylights was my first 007 film at the cinema. Mine too. I was 12. It was my first 007 at the cinema. Timothy was the perfect book version, which we talked about last time. How we wanted to go back to the book version of Bond. I think the film belongs just below From Russia With Love because it's special to me. I hope you will discuss the third Tim film that never was. Property of a Lady, which never happened, and how he nearly did Goldeneye, but then didn't want to do any more after that. Yes, we will.
So what are you going to do next time?
In the next episode.
Okay.
Because we will talk about the transition from Daltz to Bros.
Well, it's 6 years or something, isn't it?
There's a huge gap. Well, see, at that time, 6 years was a big gap in Bond films.
Yeah.
Now it's nothing. But, at that time...
It's by far the biggest so far, and there's just that one where Rod's
Up to 1989, yeah. There's one extra year, but mostly it's one film every 2 years. Anyway, yes, we will talk about that next time, so please be watching for that. Craig Luft, hello to you, sir, says, this is my favourite Bond movie now, but I'm glad... Number one Bond movie, Living Daylights. Nice, Craig.
Film.
Yeah, good film. But Craig says he's glad he didn't see it as a kid for the simple reason he wouldn't have been able to follow it at all. Yeah. He says, no way could I have grasped the idea of embezzling Russian money for a weapons deal to do a drug deal and getting the money back to make that original weapons deal. True, it is complicated, and there's diamonds thrown in there as well at some point. It is all a bit, isn't it? So I completely agree with you, Craig. I remember watching it at the age of 12 in the cinema, loving it, but not really fully appreciating quite what was going on. I just remember...
Do you do that when you watch films that...
All the time.
No, but like when the films that you've seen when you were a kid, and then and then you watch them years later, and you go, oh, right.
Oh, right. Oh, so that's why... Oh, I get it. Right, yeah.
It was grown-up stuff.
Exactly. And you first saw it like 35 years ago. And no, that's very true. So thank you very much for your correspondence, and do please keep them coming. And finally, we have the official nice person. Just the three notes this time.
Yeah, I feel like official nice.
Oh yeah, nice. I like the way you're thinking. You see, Tom's the creative one. The official nice person is, of course, Queenie Colombo. Hello, Queenie. Great debut from Dalton, Queenie says. Fantastic song, the Aha one. Aha!
Yeah.
And an exciting opening sequence. It is a really good opening sequence. I agree that Cara is one of the better written Bond girls, but I find her annoying. My favourite scene is the kitchen fight. We talked about that. It is a fantastic kitchen fight. It's so well choreographed. Love Necros. A Jackal-type assassin with Man Who Fell to Earth vibes. I hadn't made that connection. He is a bit, isn't he? He is a bit otherworldly.
Yeah.
You know. So, yes, thank you very much, Queenie Colombo, for your lovely feedback, as you always send us. It's lovely to hear from you all. And please keep your feedback coming. You can...
Sorry.
You're a bit premature there, dear boy. You can tweet us, you can blue sky us, or you can leave a comment underneath us here. Yeah. And before you press that, can I just say, our most mature viewer, Mrs. Wallace, 81 years old, is, I'm pleased to say, on the mend and feeling better.
Good
so
to
that is excellent news. And that was Feedback Corner. Oh, nice. I keep waiting for Brian Cant to walk in the room or something like that.
Well,
lovely. Very nice to hear that. Right, should we do this episode? That's enough looking back. Let's look to the future. Let's look forwards. This episode, we are going to be talking about the 16th James Bond movie, which is, of course, License to Kill. And you know I'm going straight there, etc. Yeah, License to Kill, which... According to Tom's French chart, just to introduce a little 6 euros, s'il vous plaît, into the proceedings, is permis de tuer. Permis? You probably wouldn't say the S, would you? Permis de tuer. Oui.
I don't know, but...
Permis de tuer.
That one wasn't so bad.
No, that was right.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah. I think I managed to say that without sounding totally ridiculous. So we are going to be talking about License to Kill, 1989 movie, Timothy Dalton second in the role. And at this point, I must, due to overwhelming public demand, hand over to the only man who can really do this plot justice. A summary, a brief...
It's not actually that long, this one.
A briefer than usual moment in time to encapsulate the very essence of what these movie makers were after. It can only be with his plot summary. Ladies and gentlemen, you right? Mr. Tom Scriven.
Yes, okay. I thought this was going to take ages because it's like, the movie's like, what's it, 2 hours 13 or something?
It's one of the longer movies. Yeah.
But...
Wait till you get to No Time to Die.
Words-wise, this isn't that painful, right? And I reckon you'll like the start, right?
Okay.
Felix is getting married in the morning. Ding dong, bells are gonna chime. Pull out the stopper, attach a plane with a baddie in it to a chopper, and parachute to the church not quite on time.
Hey, that's excellent.
What am I
good.
talking about? Well, I'll tell you. Right.
What are you talking about?
Felix, who's Felix from Live and Let Die Again now, right? So he's late for his wedding because he's with two DEA blokes and Bond capturing this drugs baddie called Sanchez, right? Well, like I said, they capture him by attaching his plane to a chopper. And then they parachute down to the wedding. Everyone except for Felix's father-in-law to be is really happy about that. Roll opening credits.
Yes.
Right? So Big Ed Hurley off Twin Peaks is this other Ed, right? Killifer. Right? And he's like DEA as well, but he gets bribed into helping Sanchez escape. And they're being transported, and then he knocks out the guard and he swerves the truck off into the water. Off this bridge, right? And then Sanchez escapes underwater. And then Sanchez's bastards, including Dario. Benicio del Toro. They kill Felix's wife, Della. And then Sanchez gets Felix and dips him in a shark tank. Like, well, scary, isn't it?
It's scary.
Yeah, and his leg gets bit off and that,
chomped off.
So Bond finds Della's body and then knackered up Felix, right? And Bond investigates and finds this marine research centre that's got loads of cocaine hidden in and a smuggling submarine. Right? And Bond gets Killifer and he kills him with the shark, right? Because he's like finding out that he's, helped Sanchez and that.
Old buddy.
Yeah. Exactly right. Ems gets in and he's like, right, Bond, you got to do another mission now, right? Enough of this nonsense. And Bond's like, well, he revokes his license to kill, right? And then Bond like runs off, does one really quick, goes rogue, right?
Because he's bent on revenge.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And he knackers up this drug deal and steals this 5 mil, right? And then he teams up with this army pilot DEA informant, Pam Bouvier, and then tries to get in with Sanchez, like to take him down from the inside.
Curry favour, exactly. Trojan horse working on the inside.
So he attempts to assassinate Sanchez, but he gets taken by these blokes who it turns out are Hong Kong narcotics officers, and they've been trying to take Sanchez down. There's a big fight. They die, the agents, and Bond wakes up in Sanchez's place because he thinks that Bond's like on his side now. And so Bond, with the help of Pam and Q, who's like in the field, it's amazing, right? They plan that 5 mil on this this ship, right? And they frame this bloke Crest, who I probably should have mentioned he was in it earlier. And
he's the guy who owns the shipping.
Yes. So Bond met him before in the aquarium bit. So they frame Crest. Who's made Sanchez well eggy, right? And he puts Crest in this decompression chamber and smashes the oxygen pipe with his axe. Makes his head explode. So I'm still debating whether I can include in the edit.
I know. It's pretty gruesome.
Do people want to see people head explode? Most of our viewers would.
Probably, He was rather crestfallen.
Right, Sanchez takes Bond to his main HQ, which is disguised as this religious cult HQ. And then there's this drugs presentation. What do you call it?
PowerPoint.
Dario, he comes along and then he recognises Bond from before. So there's this massive fight, fire and everything. And Bond's put on this conveyor belt that's used to crush the cocaine bricks. But he manages to survive. Because Pam helps him. And then Dario gets crushed. Again. Pretty. I can show it's that nasty bit because they don't really, but nasty in business. Context in the movie. Whoa. Right, so there's a massive chase on a plane and then at one of their massive drug tankers, loads of them. Bond and Sanchez have a bit of a fight, but Sanchez is soaked in petrol, so Bond sets fire to him with this lighter that Lighter gave him. Which I should have probably mentioned before as well.
Genuine Felix a lighter.
And then M gives Bond his job back, and then and there was this other woman, Lupe, who was who was Sanchez's girlfriend, who fell in love with Bond.
Who's quite integral to the plot. But whatever.
She's all right, but Bond, he decides he prefers Pam, so he jumps in a swimming pool with her, and a fish winks.
And a fish winks, and that's the end.
That's it.
Would you like to know some facts about this movie?
As always,
Licence to kill, or permis de tuer, as the French would have it. So this is the 16th James Bond movie produced by Eon. Timothy Dalton returns as Bond, and this time the script was specifically written for him. It wasn't one he adopted like he did with The Living Daylights.
Yeah.
Hence the sort of harder, darker, grittier edge to this movie. So the cast, Kerry Lowell as Pam Bouvier. This is the biggest role of her career. She was in mostly TV after this, including a long stint on Law and Order, the American TV show. She was married to Griffin Dunn at the time, who played Jack in American Werewolf in London.
Yeah, I saw him in After Hours recently, a Martin Scorsese film from the 80s.
Yes. She also went on to marry Richard Gere, though they have since divorced. Robert Davi as Franz Sanchez. Now, he had played Special Agent Johnson in Die Hard the year before, of course. Mm-hmm. He's a really interesting character because he engages directly with fans on social media. He'll jump on social media every so often and say, any Bond fans out there want to ask me any questions? And he's really good like that in terms of engaging with the fans. Talisa Soto as Lupe Lamora, a former model born in New York to Puerto Rican parents. She went on to be in 2 Mortal Kombat movies.
Good. I've probably seen them, but I didn't put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah. Anthony Zerbe as Milton Crest. He had a long career in US TV before this. Went on to be in 2 Matrix movies.
Delivers some boring monologues in The Matrix.
Yes, boring monologues.
In the sequels, I think. Yes. I don't think he's in the first one.
Frank McRae as Sharky, a former American footballer with the Chicago Bears. He had previously been in Rocky 2 and in a couple of movies with John Candy, including National Lampoon's Vacation. You know when Chevy Chase gets to the park and he holds up the security guard? That was Frank McRae. Anthony Stark as Truman Lodge. Have you seen the Seinfeld episode with Jimmy? Yeah, that's him. That is maybe the greatest thing ever, that episode.
Yeah, it's a good episode, and he's a good one when you're watching it. It still took me about a good 15-20 minutes to go, he's the Jimmy.
It's him. Yeah.
And it's, that's who he is.
So if you don't know what we're talking about and you haven't seen the Seinfeld episode with Jimmy, stop now and go and watch it and come back because it's magnificent. It's brilliant.
Don't stop watching us and watch Seinfeld. Seinfeld's had enough viewers. We need to keep watching us.
Jerry, we need some of your viewers. Do one. Yeah. Anyway, watch it. Okay, finish this and then go and watch it. Right. Okay, Grand L. Bush as Hawkins. He, of course, was the other Agent Johnson from Die Hard. Yeah. The previous year.
Do you know what I know him from?
And I know what you're going to say. Go on, you do it. Go on.
Roses are red, violets are blue, sugar is sweet. I'm going to break your face. And he also says he's from Police Squad as a boxer.
He's the champ in Police Squad.
And he says, Jack and Jill went up the hill. I'm going to break your face. He's the nursery rhyme boxer.
That's the champ in the episode of Police Squad. That's another episode you need to watch.
Don't stop watching us.
Don't stop watching us, but go and watch it.
All the Police Squad is brilliant.
Yeah, it is. It is genius. And the aforementioned Benicio del Toro as Dario. This is Del Toro in his first major role. He was only 22. Yeah. He'd had a small role in a smaller movie beforehand, but this was his first real exposure to major cinema. The return, as you mentioned, of David Hedison as Felix. Felix is back. I thought you'd like this because Felix in the last episode was a bit of a non-starter, really. A nice touch to bring back David Hedison, who had been Felix 16 years before for Roger's first film. He was the first actor, by the way, who ever reprised the role of Felix. Yeah. And he's still the only actor to play Leiter with 2 different Bonds. Yeah. No one else has ever done that. So there we are. Professor Joe Butcher. Yeah. Wayne Newton, Mr. Las Vegas. He's the crooner, the singer in Las Vegas. Yeah. The legend is, I don't know how true this is, I can't find out exactly, but the legend is that he actually wrote to the producers and said, I really like Bond films, please can I have a cameo in one of your films?
Right.
And being at this time Mr. Las Vegas, and he was on $1 million a week, $1 million a week on his Las Vegas contract.
Right.
So the producers came down and said, well, we've got a part for you, but you'll have to be here a week, therefore you'll have to give up $1 million. And apparently he did. So there we are, fair enough. He obviously really wanted to be in it. President Hector Lopez was played by Pedro Armendariz Jr.
I recognise this name.
Yeah, he was the son of the actor who played Kerim Bey in From Russia with Love, Indeed. All the way back in 1963. Yeah. And the return of Desmond Llewellyn as Q in his 14th appearance. A much expanded role this time for Q.
Oh, no, he's good.
He's out running around doing stuff with gadgets. Very good.
Sharing a room with Bond.
Exactly. End of an era in many ways, though. This is Robert Brown's last appearance as M. Okay. It is Caroline Bliss's last appearance as Moneypenny. We'll come to her a bit later.
Right.
It's a bit of a non-starter, that role, really.
Yeah.
The script was by Michael G. Wilson and Richard Maybaum. It was Richard Maybaum's last script.
Right. Okay.
Bit of a Bond legend.
That's good because I was running out of pictures.
Running out of pictures.
Reused the same ones a few times.
No, this is his last movie. An enormous contribution to the series coming to an end. And also John Glenn. This is his final film as director. He directed every Bond film of the 1980s. His work with Bond goes back more than 20 years from this point because his first movie was back in the late 60s. And I'm delighted to say he's this Bond legend. He's still with us at the age of 92. And still giving interviews and apparently in very good form. This is also the last title sequence by Maurice Binder.
Okay.
Because he unfortunately passed away shortly after, or in the period between this movie and the next one. It is also the last movie that was produced by Cubby Broccoli. He was involved in GoldenEye in 6 years' time, but he was officially a consulting producer. Okay. So this is the last one in which he's actually a full producer.
So was it handing the reins over?
He was handing the reins over already at this point, because Michael G. Wilson was already co-producing with him, so he wasn't the only producer. Right, a little bit of historical context. This, of course, was made in 1989.
Yeah.
And the Republic of the fictional Central American Republic, was very much based on Panama. The reason being, the Americans had decided that General Noriega was a threat they could no longer ignore, and so they were making noises about how bad Panama was, and the parallels between Sanchez and Noriega in real life was based on Noriega's political use of drug traffickers and money laundered to provide revenues for his country, similar to exactly what Sanchez is doing. They were looking round for a new bogeyman, basically, because the Soviet Union was sort of quite quiet and falling apart at this point. So the producers looking around thinking, who are the new enemies of the world? And they alighted on an idea based very much on Noriega. Later in 1989, after this movie came out, the US invaded Panama, overthrew Noriega and threw him in jail for 53 million years. A bit of information on the source novel I normally give at this point. There isn't a source novel this time. License to Kill is the first Bond film to not use the title of an Ian Fleming novel or short story.
Yeah.
However, the plot, although it's largely original, the plot does contain elements of Live and Let Die.
Oh, okay.
The chompy sharky on Felix's legs bit. And also the Hildebrand Rarity, which is a short story from the For Your Eyes Only collection. Milton Crest appears in that, and the Wave Crest is his ship in that, although he's quite a different character in that. The production. I know this is your favourite bit. Any problems in production? Well, there was a bit of a problem. This movie was originally called License Revoked, but the name was changed because tests revealed that a large number of people didn't know what the word revoked meant.
Oh, really?
Should we just leave that there and move on? That's all rather depressing, isn't it? Filming in this movie is completely different. And the reason it looks quite different to previous Bond films is because, for budget reasons, License to Kill was the first and so far only Bond film that was shot entirely outside of the United Kingdom. So not just locations in the USA and Mexico, but also the interiors were not shot at Pinewood or anywhere in the UK. So M's office, Moneypenny's office, all that stuff was shot at Churubusco Studios in Mexico City. And the cost of doing that was about 15% less. The reason being was budget. Budgets were essentially the same as they had been 10 years previously for Moonraker, but had not been adjusted for inflation. And so the producers had to be doing more with less, basically. However, filming in Mexico did cause some problems. Cubby Broccoli and Peter Lamont were both taken ill during filming because of the altitude. John Glenn, the director, went down with food poisoning. After filming some wide shots of David Hedison and Dalton parachuting, they made some closer shots near the church location. You'll know all about this, being the producer of this marvellous pod show cast tube thing. During one of the takes, a malfunction of one of the harnesses on David Hedison's parachute caused him to fall onto the pavement, and the injury made him limp for the remainder of filming. He was 61 years old at the time as well, so not great to hurt your aging star in such a way. Oh, and you know the scene where Dalton's hanging on over the grinder and Benicio del Toro comes in and cuts his finger? Guess what he did?
Cut his finger.
He cut his finger. Yeah, he literally did. Genuinely cut his finger. And Dalton needed stitches. That must have been awful for Del Toro because he's 22 years old. He's in his first movie or first sort of starring role in a movie. And he's literally just slashed the star's hand open. Sorry.
Yeah.
So, there we go. Controversies. There are a couple of things that probably did cause some issues. You've already talked about it. The killing of Milton Crest. And in particular his head going to the space that it does. And then all this blood just appearing.
Is it like because he's after Gremlins, isn't it? Well, bollocks, they did it in Gremlins. We can do it in this. That was a gremlin, though. This is like a human head.
Well, yeah. And the other thing is that they actually, the original cut of this movie, had a more graphic scene in it than that. And so they were actually told you're going to have to tone that down to get it past the censor. So they obviously were going for this harder edge, and they probably went a bit far, to be fair, on that point. However, reception. The critics were pretty lukewarm at the time. Many of the critics didn't like the harder edge to the movies. It is a sudden shift to go straight from the sort of fun and over the topness of Roger Moore straight to the sort of exact opposite in Timothy Dalton. So, that didn't go down terribly. Maybe people weren't ready for it at the time, for this sort of prototype Daniel Craig that Dalton was trying to do. And going back to the novels, very much going back to novels. Maybe in the 80s people weren't ready for it. Perhaps in the 90s they might have been. But anyway, retrospectively, this film has been reviewed very positively. I know it is a bit of a thing amongst the fans. They do speak up for License to Kill. They think the public perception of it is not fair, and that a lot of the fans do like this movie very much. It has 80% on Rotten Tomatoes today, so a really good score, up from 73% for The Living Daylights. So a very good score. The box office was a bit of a problem for this. Now, for any other movie, this would be a major success. Budget of 32 million, 8 million down from The Living Daylights. So they've had to do a lot more with less. And a box office of 156 million, which against the 32 million budget is a great return. But it was 25 million down from The Living Daylights. And it was, adjusted for inflation, one of the lower profit margin movies that the Bond films had seen at that point. So to gross 4 times your budget is a good result, but they felt that was not enough, particularly in America. Of that $156 million, only 34 million taken in America.
Oh, right, okay.
So that's really why the studio started to get the heebie-jeebies about Dalton. And United Artists were sort of saying, we don't think audiences are taken to Dalton's Bond.
Right.
Uh-oh.
But now, because I've only really watched... this is the most recent one I've watched. it seems a lot like this one is much more like things that are trendy. John, not quite John Wick, but
no, you're right. You're right.
That kind of people just like that kind of rogue, dark.
Yeah, good pace to it as well.
Yeah,
or maybe a bit
Jason
like
Bourne.
Yeah, I was just going to say Jason Bourne or the what are those Tom Cruise movies called where he's walking around the country, no address, all that kind of stuff. Jack Reacher. Yeah. This idea of a sort of man on his own, bent on revenge and all that kind of stuff. And I think you're right. I wonder if it almost came a bit too soon. Yeah. I think in the 90s maybe people would have been a bit more ready for it.
But you might just be getting to it. American audiences did like good movies in 1989.
I have a list.
The competition.
I have a list of the competition that it was up against. License to Kill was up against Lethal Weapon 2.
Yeah.
Riggs and Myrtle. Great movie, mate. Ghostbusters 2, which was, I know it's a huge hit. I mean, it wasn't as good as the first one, but it was a huge hit.
That's the one I went to see out of all these.
Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, starring Sean Connery, of course.
Yes.
Formula 1. And the first Batman movie with Michael Keaton and
the number one,
Jack Nicholson, which was huge.
It was
that year.
crazy.
Yeah, it was everywhere.
Yeah.
And so it was up against a huge array of movies. The other thing is, the problem in the UK, it was a 15 certificate.
Okay.
And it was, at this point, it is still the only 15 certificate Bond movie in the UK. In America, it was a PG-13.
Because this is before, in the UK, we've had 12s for a while, but that's been since the early 2000s.
No. Do you know the irony with this? Do you know what the first 12 movie was?
One of the Bonds.
It was Batman 2 months later.
If
they'd have been 3 months later with that movie, they could have License to Kill. Yeah. They could have classified it as a 12, and that would have helped the take-ins. Yeah. But there wasn't a 12 certificate at the time, and even with the cuts they made, it was a 15. Although the classification, the BBFC said even with further cuts, it probably wouldn't have been a 12.
Yeah.
Because of the things it shows in that movie. So look, the fact that it's a 15 certificate means a lot of kids couldn't see it. I couldn't see it. I was 14 and I was short. I know that will surprise you, but I was short and I couldn't get into a cinema to see it because they wouldn't.
But they also made. So there's like the PG-13, our equivalent now is the 12A. 12A, which that's the one I was thinking of. That didn't exist at the time. Yeah, that didn't exist till like the early 2000s. So that was like, you could go and watch it if you were under 12, if you were with an adult. Yeah.
And at that time, in 1989 in this country, it was PG and then straight to 15. Yeah. There was nothing in between.
America's it's like they got the R, which is, that's the way none of the Marvel movies have got effing in them and that because they want to stay away from that. So there'll be a 12 round here and a PG in the States.
So it was up against some stiff competition and it wasn't dealt the best hand. I think we can safely say that. It wasn't dealt the best hand. Although actually this movie did quite well in Britain, quite well in Europe, quite well in the Far East, but didn't do particularly well in America. Nonetheless, still 156 million for the producers. Zippity doodah. You would think. Right, anyway, that's enough of an overview. I think I've rambled on for long enough. Yeah. Everyone thinks I've rambled on for long enough. Always. I do. Permanently. Just shut up. Just shut up, James. We're going to take a little break. And when we come back, we will activate the real star of the show, the BondBoard. Welcome back. Tom, would you please activate the BondBoard?
Activate.
Wow.
That's
intense.
I'm a bit underwhelming, but
I don't think so. I think it's marvellous.
That'll do.
I'm not sure I'm emotionally strong enough to take it.
Yeah.
Very impressive. Right. Let's recap the scores on the BondBoard so far.
3?
Yeah, top 3. Tom, would you kindly give us the top 3?
At number 3, we have Thunderball with 186. In second place, we've got Goldfinger with 191. And in first place, it's The Spy Who Loved Me, 198 points.
There it goes. Wow. Intense stuff.
Yeah.
Well, let's see if we can score a License to Kill and see where it comes from. The 16 it will be. Where will it come on the board? So, first, we have the opening sequence, a very important element of the Bond film.
It is. I enjoyed, I'm a big Felix fan.
Yeah, you do like a bit of Felix, don't you?
Big fan of the form-changing miscast man. His father-in-law, to me, is like, I told you this was a mistake, and I was like, well, you don't know the half of it, mate. I mean, Jesus Christ, he will change form. Just when you think, he's all right now, he'll turn into a completely different bloke.
Yeah, then Then in some he can act, but in Living Daylights he can.
That's how to act from time to time. Yeah.
You want to start World War III?
Yeah.
Well, you've got me, James.
And some good action in the opening sequence.
It's all right. It's
good location, being on the Florida Keys and all that. I think
Very
works
nice.
quite well. I don't think it's quite as good as the opening sequence for the Living Daylights.
Yeah.
Which I loved, and I scored a 9.
Yes.
I don't think it's quite as good as that, I do think it's a solid enough start to the movie.
It's good. I mean, now I am getting into being able to compare it with all the come before this one, and it does feel, while it's really cool, the plane getting
fishing for
the plane. Yeah, that's really cool, but it's not a million miles away from some better stuff that we've seen previously.
So with that in mind, I've said 7.
And I think I've also said 7.
You've also said 7. That's interesting. See, you've watched it for the first time and come to the same conclusion as me, watching it for the 583rd time. So can I just point out one tiny thing that annoys me in the opening sequence?
Yeah.
After they've hooked Sanchez and his plane's flying away, and they both jump down to parachute down to the wedding, Felix is carrying James's hat and his own hat.
Oh.
How does he pull the ripcord?
You can do it, can't you?
With your elbows, I don't know. Anyway, sorry, it's just an annoying little thing. Every time I see Felix jump out, I always think, Anyway, sorry. I'm being pedantic. I apologise. Let's talk about the theme song.
Yeah.
Now, before we get to the Gladys Knight version, can we just talk about a couple of near misses? Proposed theme songs or submitted theme songs for this, which were not successful. So the guy Vic Flick, who played the original guitar part on the original Bond theme, submitted a new Bond theme guitar tune with Eric Clapton, no less. Yeah. And do you know what? It's rubbish. You can find it on YouTube, and it just doesn't go anywhere. And the producers rejected it.
Right.
Yeah. The Art of Noise put in a tune, a sort of updated, funky version of the Bond theme.
That's what everyone wants.
Yeah, that's not okay. Apparently, Level 42 had submitted a tune, but I can't find that anywhere online. Anyway, there we are. Do you know, Level 42 was the first band I ever saw live. True. 1989, actually. Same year as this.
2020.
No. 2 years ago. No. Same year as this. Anyway, I can't find that tune. Anyway, we ended up with Gladys Knight's version, and I'm very grateful that we did. Yeah. Because it's a million times better than anything else I've heard in comparison. The writers of this song were threatened with legal action by John Barry.
I thought so.
Because John Barry went, hang on a minute, that's the horn part from Goldfinger, and threatened to sue. So the way they settled it was with a co-writer's credit for the writers who wrote Goldfinger. Nice.
Yes. That stuff.
That stuff.
With those other little bits, they embellished it a bit, but
that is Goldfinger, isn't it? You can see it.
Yes.
It's Goldfinger, isn't it? Anyway, I have to say I really like this tune. It's a change to the couple that we've heard before, where they've gone a bit more poppy and a bit more modern. Yeah. They've gone back to a sort of 60s, 70s established star, singing a very... if I say traditional, I don't mean that in a bad way.
Yeah.
A sort of archetypal Bond theme. And I have to say, I think it's terrific. I really, really like this.
Fair enough.
You don't sound like you do.
I really liked it when it kicks in the movie just after the wedding bells. And
yeah, it does work well. Yeah,
it sounds great. There's a sexy Morris
sexiful,
Binder.
yeah, absolutely.
Sexiful montage.
Sexiful lady.
And it, as a Bond theme, works.
I think it works really
fine.
well. Yeah. Big hit on both sides of the Atlantic for Gladys Knight. Just quickly before we score that, the end credit song was different again.
Yeah,
like they
Patti
did.
LaBelle, wasn't it?
Like they did in the last film. It was Patti LaBelle. It's a song called "If You Ask Me To," written by Diane Warren, who's the lady they all go to if they need a love song writing.
I didn't.
And later was a release as a single, but didn't do a lot. Yeah. But later it was a bigger hit for Celine Dion. Yeah. So if you like your Celine Dion, go look that up.
I didn't really like that song too much.
No, it's a bit.
It's just not my.
It's a bit something and nothing, that one, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it might have been better to just put. So what are you scoring the theme song? Not If You Ask Me To. License to Kill by Gladys Knight. What's your score?
6.
6, really? Yeah. Wow, that's interesting.
Because of the.
Do you know what? I've gone big 9. I really like this.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
there we are. That's interesting.
I don't feel quite so bad.
I wonder if that's because it was the first Bond-sounding Bond theme that I was aware of.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Because before that, it was The Living Daylights and View to a Kill, which were a bit different, weren't they? And Octopus, you just forget about.
And also like the kind of spoof on Goldfinger. I just think Goldfinger did it better, like 20 odd years before.
Yeah. Right, the score. Let's talk about the score. John Barry was unwell.
Right.
As well as threatening to sue people. So the producers went to Michael Kamen, who had scored Die Hard and Lethal Weapon the previous year.
So he's a busy bloke.
He was a busy bloke. And
getting all that.
The new version of the Bond theme, the theme, was used heavily in this. Kamen went back to that a lot. What he didn't do, or at least you're the musician, you tell me, but what it appeared to me anyway, he didn't call back to the theme song very much. Or if at all.
I didn't notice it. I mean, Kamen's a seasoned pro.
Yeah.
He worked with like Metallica, I think, as well.
He did a big orchestral concert with Metallica.
A lot of different stuff like that.
Yeah, late 90s, I think. Yeah. It's a very good theme. It's a very good score.
The mood
don't get me wrong.
and the visuals.
It does. And I'm not being critical in any shape or form. I thought it suited the movie really well.
Musically, no, you're right.
But I was waiting for a little cue of the theme tune. I never heard it.
I suppose it's kind of a romantic song.
Maybe.
There ain't a lot of that in this movie.
There's people's heads being exploded and legs being chewed off.
It's more.
Yeah. No, that's very true. And I think also it is quite Barry-esque. He has taken his cues, I think. Understandably, you wouldn't move too far away from the tried and trusted. No, so I think it works quite well. So there we go. What are you saying for the score?
8. I like this one.
Okay, I've gone a good solid 7. So decent scores for the score.
It's tricky remembering what you said and then writing that number.
Stunts. Now I've got a few good stunts here.
A bit of a
what
list,
have you got there? Go ahead.
I have got with the beginning before the plane fishing bit. He jumps out of a helicopter, shoots a jeep. That's pretty cool.
Yes.
And then there's the fishing bit, parachuting. a bit troublesome there. The Felix and the Shark Tank I've listed here. There's not much stunts going on, but there's use of dangerous animals.
Yeah.
And it's a scary bit of the movie.
Absolutely.
I suppose that's the 15 rating, that and the head exploding.
I think it's the head, the chomping, and the Dario going into the thing.
Yeah, because it's just that kind of menacing. He's, Goody, he's been captured. You think Felix is going to die.
Susan.
So, yeah.
Okay.
I've got the hook grab in the belt buckle into the electric eel tank.
That's quite a nice little stunt. Yeah, happy with that.
There's like a kind of combo sequence of, it starts with like this underwater fight, which is a bit similar to stuff we've seen with Connery and stuff.
Yeah.
But then it goes into the water skiing.
Yes.
Then
Barefoot water skiing.
Yeah. And then he gets onto the plane and chucks, like, both of the blokes are in the plane.
One from miles up.
So that was a bit of a combo. That went on to this bit and this bit and this.
That was a good scene, that.
That was good. Brief return of the ninjas! That didn't go on too long, did it, that bit? Thankfully. Arguably, I don't know. Air pressure, compressing.
Air pressure, death head thing, yeah.
Crikey. And then, the end chase, that, there's a big load of stuff with the planes and the jumping off the plane into the truck. And then, basically, trucks bashing into each other, missing the bazooka with the well, not
Tank
two wheels on one side.
On one side, yeah.
Manages to do a wheelie in a truck with no back.
I don't know why he does that, but he's not showing off.
And then there's a cool bit. We've seen cars go off cliffs a lot, but this one's already on fire.
Yeah, I think so. And just misses the plane.
And
no, they're good stunts in this movie.
And really just Sanchez as well going.
And Sanchez on fire. So a few interesting pieces of information about some of this stuff.
Yeah.
The scene where Sanchez's plane is hijacked was filmed in Florida, and they genuinely did lower down Jake Lombard. Remember him from the aerial stunts in the previous movie? Jumping from a helicopter to the plane, and there was no parachute on the wire. They couldn't figure out a way of hiding the parachute. So as Jake Lombard is going down, he is just reliant on that wire. And he hooks the plane, and it was a genuine thing that they did. The barefoot water skiing was real.
Yeah.
But it was partly shot, clever this, with transparent water skis. Clever. Although when you see him barefoot water skiing, he is genuinely barefoot water skiing. The tanker chase at the end, the sort of big climactic end to the movie, all under the supervision of Remy Julien, who we've seen before doing a lot of the car-based stunts in these films. He also did the chase in The Italian Job and all that sort of stuff.
He's the car man, he wasn't the explosive.
He's the car man, he wasn't the explosive guy. Coming to that. It took 7 weeks to film that tanker chase. They used 10 18-wheeler Kenworth trucks, for those of you that are into your trucks at home. Total cost of $1 million just for the trucks.
Big hello to all you truckers out
there. When the truck crashes into the rock face and sort of stops and it looks quite violent, that wasn't planned.
Oh.
But John Glenn thought, that's good, I'll keep it in. So he kept it in.
Yeah,
the truck on its side, you're right, good stunt. Again, someone genuinely did that. That's not a model.
Is there not a bracket on the other side or something?
I don't know. Someone genuinely drove the I don't know. But it wasn't a model or anything. It was genuinely a truck that big on its side.
Yeah.
Bit of a callback to Diamonds Are Forever when Connery does it in the red sports car, but rather bigger. Yeah. The tanker explosion, the huge explosion, was one of the biggest ever committed to screen at that point.
God.
And Sanchez on fire at the end.
Yeah.
That was, and again, it's amazing how these same names keep coming up over and over again. That was Paul Weston, again, who was the "Hold on, you're dead" man from The Living Daylights, and who was the stunt supervisor in that and did a lot of the stunts in that. They literally did set him on fire. They put him in these 2 suits with like a breathing tube in the middle. Some fantastic stunt work in this movie. Really, really like it. I have said 8 for stunts.
I have also said 8 for stunts.
Some very good stunts in this movie.
Indeed.
In this movie. Vehicles.
Yeah,
I guess we talk about vehicles. It's a bit of a vehicle light movie.
I'd say, definitely like cool car wise. Oh, there's the Shark Hunter too. It's all right.
Yeah, there's also the Wave Crest.
Yeah.
That's the name of the boat in the Hildebrand Rarity, so they took that, and that's hence Milton Crest as the character.
I see.
Also, Sentinel, or as they describe it, Subnal.
Yeah.
The underwater mini submarine thing, Which is important, but you don't really sort of see it because that's where all the cocaine is, but you don't really focus on it that much. And after that, really, it's seaplanes, Rolls Royces and lorries.
There's a lot of tankers, yeah.
A lot of lorries.
There's a golf buggy, very briefly.
Oh, yeah.
Not really worth mentioning.
Although I do like the way Pam drives it and snatches the bag back as she goes through. So, yeah, a bit light on great vehicles, I would say.
Yeah. But
we do have the little planes and we do have the seaplane.
Yes.
But, you know, nothing we haven't seen before.
Again, even though they're just massive truck tanker things, the use of them was very effective.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And the planes and all that. So I've given it 7.
I've said 6. Okay. I don't think there isn't a sort of...
There's not a standout
underwater
Bond
car
vehicle.
or a standout Bond vehicle. Exactly. You don't see Bond driving a great deal in this movie. So
no.
And that, when he's in Florida and he's got a rental car from the airport that he's giving back to the... That really does look like the most awful American saloon ever that, you know, your granddad would have driven. So, I've said 6. So a 6 and a 7 for vehicles. I suspect this will score a little more highly.
Yeah.
Villain, the main villain. What are we saying?
He's great. I mean, he's quite a familiar face for me, and he's in a lot of the kind of movies that I watch, like the ones you mentioned.
Die Hard and when my son watched all these movies with me a couple of years ago, when they re-released them all for the anniversary and watched them all on the big screen, he came out of License to Kill absolutely buzzing about how good Sanchez is as a character and how well acted he is. I really like the loyalty is more important than money line.
Loyalty is more important to me than money.
Robert Davi says he puts that in himself. I don't know if he did. Okay. And it's not personal, it's purely business and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
As he's lowering Felix into the shark thing, he says it's not personal. I quite like all that stuff. I think he's quite sort of smooth as well. He sort of is a bit Bond-like in terms of, do you know what I mean? He sort of feels like he appreciates the finer things in life. But he's got this betrayal and retaliation, retribution thing going on in his head. Good death scene as well. So I think he's a great villain. A really, really great performance.
Yeah.
And well written too.
Well written. A bit more grounded than some other ones, but maybe I was just missing a slight bit of madness.
Oh, okay.
Perhaps. Maybe it didn't need it. He's got an iguana and
sure.
Maybe that'll do it for me, actually. Reminding myself of the iguana. So I've really gone 8. But
apparently he improvised the kiss to the iguana as well. Apparently it was... I don't know. Yeah. So he says. I've said 9. I think he's a top tier villain.
9.
So, So that offsets the 1 point difference from the last round. Oh, it's interesting. It's fascinating. Right, Henchman is next.
Yeah.
Let's start with Dario. He is genuinely unhinged. He is like properly mad, isn't he?
What's that? We gave her a nice honeymoon.
Like the way he speaks and the way he's got that weird eyes thing going with a smile all the time. He does genuinely look quite mad.
Gold tooth just on the corner. Little extra affectation there.
When he sees Pam and there's the sort of thought that maybe she's an angel or something, that sort of fits with Dario. Like Sanchez isn't going to think that about her, but Dario, you sort of imagine there is something a bit more mad going on there. Heller is really very shifty, and he's not trustworthy even to Sanchez. Even toward the end, Sanchez is not trusting him either. So I think he's quite an interesting character. We need to talk about Killifer as well, who of course is the cop who then betrays Felix. That's got to be a wig, hasn't it?
No, you reckon?
No, it's not. It's not a wig. It's because he still has that haircut today. It's just he's gone grey.
So I was going to say I can get the jingle out.
No.
But no, he wore that all the way through Twin Peaks. Then, if it was, and like you say, in the new Twin Peaks,
he's like that now.
Yeah,
but he's
white
hair, or white.
Yeah.
But I think
his hair is even madder now. But
I mean, it is a bit of a mad haircut. It's a bit of a. I'm not sure about Killifer.
I don't quite. Yeah.
I think
his plan wasn't very good, was it?
His betrayal, I think, was sort of happened too quickly. It was sort of betrayed away too quickly. Oh, he's on the bad side now. You know, it was like, oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Although I do like the scene where he hits the guy with the gun. That's pretty brutal, to be fair. So that I think is pretty good.
And again, he has a very brutal death. That's Bond at his most savage, really.
It is.
Yeah.
The way he goes,
Ruthless.
old buddy, and throws him in.
Yeah.
I do like the way the next day the cop says to Bond, they find a little bit of what used to be Gallifrey, which I think is quite good. One other thing I just point out we talk about the other parts, don't we? The supporting parts in this. Do you think Felix is a little bit too cheerful at the end? When he's on the phone to James, he's lost a leg and his wife's just died, and he's on the phone going, let's go fishing next week, James. I just think he's a little bit too cheerful. But
he's on like loads of morphine.
Well, maybe he's on, Michael, I'm on morphine. So yeah, anyway, I'm nitpicking.
It's a good point.
Anything else to add on Henchman?
No, I think Del Toro's the standout.
He is the standout.
Yeah.
7. Is that a bit high on reflection? Possibly a tiny bit high.
Oh, I got an 8.
Oh, have you? Okay.
Just I liked Dario very much.
So a 7 from me and an 8 from Tom, which brings us on to location, which is particularly important in this movie because it's all on location. Even the bits that are supposed to be London are actually filmed in Mexico. I would like to say something that I think is going to be controversial in some quarters. My problem with this movie is, I like this movie very much. I think it's a good, solid action film. Good scores so far. Yeah. Happy.
Fair enough.
It doesn't sort of look or feel like a Bond film. Ooh. You know how The Living Daylights, there was those scenes in Bratislava, which is very Fleming-esque, and there's just this kind of sort of sheen of quality over it that seems to be missing in this movie. And I wonder if it's because they shot it all on location. It looks a bit Miami Vice-ish in places, which is fine. But do you know what I mean? It looks like an American thriller rather than a Bond film. But that's it. I can't. It just doesn't feel like a Bond film.
I kind of get what you mean.
And Desmond Llewellyn said the same thing, by the way. Now, you would think he would love this movie because of the bigger part he had in it.
Yeah.
But he made a comment to the effect that it was one of his less favourite movies because he didn't think it was Bond enough. He thought it was a good thriller, very much of its time, very good action, great stunts and blah, 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 but not Bondy enough. And of course, it was budget. Budget was driving the whole thing. They had to shoot it in Mexico and the USA for the lighter budget. So anyway, perhaps I'm nitpicking, but that's just a view.
No.
I think the locations are fine, but not outstanding, so I've said 6.
6? I've gone 7.
Okay. Key West at the start looks good. The road over the forest.
None of it looks. I sort of see what you mean, but the not so Bondy feel to it. Maybe that ties in with what I was saying. It is more akin to a Bourne.
Maybe. Yeah, absolutely. Shall we talk about the story? Not that there's much we can say after your magnificent plot summary of earlier, but
no.
Much darker tone to this story, of course. Very much a revenge story, written specifically for Dalton, as I mentioned.
Yeah.
The Living Daylights have been written before Dalton had been cast. This was, having said Desmond Llewellyn didn't think so much of it, this was John Glenn's favourite of the films he directed. This was the direction he and Dalton really wanted to take.
I'll tell you what,
Bond.
I would have watched loads more Dalton. Not because of Flash.
No, absolutely.
I'd have watched.
Well, it kind of is.
Maybe a little. But no, if they had that gap and just continued with this, from what you've...
And this is what I mean. I think he's more popular now than he was then. So I think Dalton is really good in this. And you can see that this is a script that was written for him. I think there are lines where they've gone, Timothy would sound great saying that.
Well, I was going to leave it for gags, but...
Watch the birdie, you bastard.
If I was in the cinema, I would probably would have clapped. And everyone would sat down again.
But also, I'll tell you the other one that stands out as a line where they've gone, Dalton is saying that because he's a classically trained actor and he would sound great saying this. When he's explaining the great white shark and he says, forgive me, Carcharodon carcarius.
Carcharodon carcarius.
That is just a classically trained actor loving saying those words. I think the barrel head bar, that's not his usual thing, but I think he does quite well in it, to be fair.
That's good, yeah.
One thing I would point out...
You can talk about the dancer.
No, go on.
The dancer keeps dancing.
Oh, yeah, he keeps dancing. Oh, it's just
all his guns shooting everywhere.
Anyway, I like Dalton in this. I think he's really growing into the part. It's written for him. It's right in his wheelhouse.
Yeah.
He's great in it, I think. So, anyway, story, I have said 8.
Me too.
And mercifully, not as complicated as The Living Daylights story.
Yeah, no, hence my rather abridged
Yeah. Mind
summary.
you, not many things are as complicated as The Living Daylights
that's a
plot.
very good point.
So,
yeah.
there we are. There are only 3 categories left, which means it is time for...
Gadgets, gags, and girls.
Gadgets,
gags, and girls.
Hey, buy it. Right, let's do gadgets first, lad. Right, I have a list of gadgets.
I too
Right, shall
have
I
a list of
kick
gadgets.
off and then you
go
let me know
for
any
it.
I missed?
Mine isn't that long.
Okay, so I've got giant manta ray camouflage net thing.
Just be grateful that I didn't buy that for you to wear. But
In previous episodes,
it
it
could
would have
happen
happened. It would have
later
happened.
on in the series.
No, that's true. So, manta ray camouflage net thing, explosive alarm clock thing.
And Q says, guaranteed not to wake anyone up or something like that.
Guaranteed never to wake up anybody who uses it.
Plastic explosive tube of toothpaste thing.
Bloody good.
Camera gun with palm reader so no one else can fire it thing. Polaroid camera with laser and X-ray camera thing.
Which makes that comical photo of the skeletons. Yeah.
And which Pam manages to zoom the thing. Dinner jacket waistband cummerbund thing, which conceals a climbing rope thing.
Yeah.
Very nice. Remote control cigarette pack explosive trigger thing.
Yeah.
And finally, road sweeper broom radio transmitter thing, which Q just chucks away after 30 years of telling Bond to be careful with this equipment. I just wangs it in a hedge.
Maybe, yeah.
So, yeah, there we are. Anyway, have I missed a few?
No, that's only, the only one we've already mentioned is the lighter with. Is that a gadget or has he just set it?
I think he's just
turned
set
the
it.
wheel so he can.
Yeah, exactly.
Which you can do, kids. If you just get an ordinary lighter,
Yes.
and just take the metal bit off, and then the little plastic wheel, you can push that round and push it up a bit, so you can.
So I've gone 7 for gadgets.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
excellent,
yeah.
good. Solid gadgets, good. Solid selection of
Solid.
gadgets.
But
Nothing
my list is about
completely
half as
outstanding.
long as this normally.
Yeah, nothing
some-
completely outstanding.
Yeah,
And not a
well,
very
well.
gadget-heavy movie, which again fits with the tone of it because it's just a guy with a gun.
Bloody exactly.
Egg bloody exactly. Right, gags.
Yeah.
I've only got a short list again.
Yeah.
It's all about the tone and so
Yeah.
on. But a couple of things that did make me laugh. Not just lines, but the double take by Dalton when he sees the new Pam.
Yeah.
When she walks in as Miss Kennedy, and he does this really big comedic double take. I think is good.
Yeah.
Touching the bosom of the statue, and the car horn going at the same time. And there's really only a few one-liners. Launder it, nice one from Sanchez there, when the money's all splayed with Crest's head and brains.
Yeah.
And Dalton, he came to a dead end. Dalton doesn't really do one-liners as
There
Bond,
aren't really.
but that's quite a good one, I think.
Yeah, there were more just a few things that I found funny. That was Felix's father-in-law to be.
Yes.
He's the only one when they parachute down. Everyone's going like that, and he's just like. I thought the note that Sanchez left on Lighter, he ate. Well, he disagreed with something that ate him. I just thought, like, if Bond was looking at it, he's probably thinking, that's not bad actually.
Might use that one.
Felix, you bastard. Yeah.
That's a direct lift from the novel.
Ah, I see.
So Fleming himself came up with
And then when Killifer's been killed and with all the money, what does he get? $2 million for that?
2 million.
Yeah. And Sharky goes, God, what a waste of money. It's his pause. Like, come on, you know what I'm talking about. Just weirdly delivered. One of my favourites is the bit with Q and Pam when she's pissed off with Lupe about, I love James so much and all that. And Q trying to reassure us as field operatives must often use every means at their disposal to achieve their objectives. And she just goes, bullshit.
I suppose that the other sort of big moments of levity in the movie are around Professor Joe.
Yeah.
The as Pam holds him up and he's doing the bless your heart thing, I do think that is quite funny and quite and the way they're watching him on TV and going, I love this guy and all that kind of stuff. There's a bit of levity in it. But obviously the tone of this one is much darker, so there are fewer gags. I've said 6. I think they're good quality, but obviously a bit less frequent. So 6.
Yeah. I've just gone 1 up and 7.
I thought you said 1.
One up on you. Yeah.
1 for gags.
And the winking fish, that's more of a Roger Moore.
Yeah, it's a bit...
Or maybe even a bit too daft for Roger Moore.
Yeah, it is a bit weird, isn't it?
Did I say 7? Yeah.
It is a bit out of keeping with the rest of the movie, but...
It's right at the end.
It's right at the end.
It's right at the end.
I can let it slide, it's fine.
It's like the last shot, isn't it, before the credits roll, so...
Yeah.
Let them off.
Only one more element of the movie to discuss, and that is the girls. Let's start with Pam.
Yeah.
Great ally for Bond. She's a skilled pilot. She's tough. She's resourceful. You see her. She plays Professor Joe for a fool.
Yeah.
And does really well. She actually orders Bond around.
Yeah.
Which you don't. See a lot of previous to this.
Probably one of the first who sort of like convinced, like, no, I'm an
As
army
an equal.
pilot.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. I'm
not pissing about.
Put your sexist shit away.
Yeah.
So I quite like her for that reason. I think she's a really good character.
Yeah.
So I like Pam very much, and looks different as well with the short hair and all that. I think she looks very different as well. So I think she's quite a striking character and a really good character. Lupe. Lupe is quite a scheming sort of character. She's clearly manipulating people, using them to her advantage. She's got plans and things she's working on, uses men to her advantage, including Bond, it must be said.
Yeah.
So I think she's quite a sort of scheming character. Perhaps not quite fully explored, perhaps not fully developed.
Yeah.
It's sort of hinted at, but maybe could do a little bit more with that character, perhaps.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess, well, the plot is pretty straightforward compared with the last one.
Yes.
It goes on for 2 hours 13.
Yeah.
There's a lot to choose what to focus on.
Wait till you get to No Time to Die. Anyway. Caroline Bliss as Moneypenny. We talked in the last movie that she didn't really have a lot to work with. I mean, she's got nothing to work with. She's only in the one scene. They literally flew her to Mexico to say 5 lines or whatever it was. So, I mean, it's not her fault. She's just got nothing to work with.
I suppose I was a bit, just an idiot, kind of just a bit like, you're not Lois Maxwell. How dare you be in this movie last time? And then this one, I'm like, they've done it to you, like 2 movies in.
Stitched you up.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I've said 8.
Yeah. Oh, me too. Yeah.
There we are. 2 8s to finish with.
Okay. You know what? I thought that this one,
scores here.
When I was doing my scores, I thought I really enjoyed this one, and I thought it was going to come really low on the on the board for the bondiness. But let's just have a quick break. Yeah,
let's do that.
Segueing.
No, you're so
shit. I'm doing it, James. I'm doing it.
I'll watch and learn. I mean, this is great.
Let's do some maths.
Let's do some maths
and find out if I was right.
Very good. Welcome back. It is the all-important reveal of the scores. We have done some maths. Right. I've inputted your data. Ooh. And I have given License to Kill a score of
88.
And Tom has given License to Kill a score of
89.
Giving us a grand total of
What was it?
177. 177. Which puts License to Kill into 9th place on our board. It is just below the tie between Live and Let Die and Moonraker, and it just slides in above On Her Majesty's Secret Service, which slips to 10th. So License to Kill is 9th out of 16.
Well, there we are.
Solid. I'd say.
Yeah.
Good performance.
Yeah.
Good performance. And it is really close. Look, 177, 180, 181, 179. They're, the scores are really close.
Yeah.
So certainly in that top 9 or so.
Yeah.
All to play for. As we move into a new era, as the Americans say.
Finished the 80s.
Of Bond.
We don't get any for a few years.
We now go into a 6-year hiatus. Before we get to GoldenEye in 1995, new Bond, new M, new Moneypenny, new everything, which we will talk about in the next episode. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Just a quick reminder, please do leave us a comment underline under here under
subscribe
this video
as well. That'd be nice.
If you could subscribe, we'd be grateful, because we always get lots of comments, which is nice. We always get lots of views, which is nice, but we really like to get our subscribers up. So if you could subscribe, we would be very grateful, and then you won't miss a thing. And don't forget also, if you would prefer to contact us on Twitter, you can send us a tweet or an X message thing, whatever it's called, at Review Kill Show, or on Blue Sky at Review to a Kill. And we will see you next time for more of the same, when we will be talking about GoldenEye. Thank you very much for watching.
Well, thank you, James.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I'll drink to that.
I'm going to break your face.